This is one of the most unique places on Earth, and Hawaii will beat you down.
This place is a little bit like paradise and hell in one, you know?
This course, you have to respect it.
It's called the Ironman, and it is legendary for forcing you to explore and expand your limits.
You've got the best long-distance triathletes in the world pushing hard.
The strongest, mentally tough athletes in the world have been broken.
There are moments of agony, moments of glory, moments of pain.
It's going to hurt, it's going to get hard, you need to be ready for that.
The ocean, the heat, the distance, the wind. It's the same for everyone.
There is no hiding. You are racing the whole way by yourself.
This is the 2014 Ironman World Championship, presented by GoPro. Pre-dawn of a new day in Kailua Kona, and the pier is very much alive. The scene is unmistakably Hawaiian. For those who have come here to race, this is about to be their day of days. There is a sense of community here, and today there is an ominous tone amongst them.
All right, athletes, good morning. I'd like to welcome everybody to 36th Ironman World Championships.
The pilgrimage to the start line has begun. For over 3 decades, this event has brought them to this place. There are potential champions and those who have qualified to be here side by side. The volunteers do their best to be uplifting, but in the end, every single one of them knows today is all about them. And only they know if they prepared as hard as they could. And even with that, they know there's a lot that can go wrong out there. Everyone comes to compete, but some have come to make history. Last year's world champion Frederik van Leeuwen is at the top of that list. In 2013, he executed the perfect race and was crowned world champion. He has returned to full form this season, scoring a second-place finish at the Ironman European Championship in Frankfurt. That's the man who won that race, Sebastian Kienle. His best result was last year when he placed third. His weapon? Cycling. And expectations for Sebastian to take the lead on the bike course are high. But first off the bike doesn't always translate to first at the finish line. Making his first Ironman World Championship appearance is 2008 Olympic gold medalist Jan Frodeno. What he lacks in Big Island experience, he makes up for with pure talent. A newcomer in the women's field has also been raising eyebrows. Switzerland's Daniela Rief. Over the summer, the 27-year-old competed in 5 triathlons over an 8-week span, and she won them all, including the Ironman 70.3 World Championship in September. But there are a lot of winners in this field. And 2-time Ironman world champion Mirinda Carfrae did more than just win last year. She dominated, overcoming an over 8-minute deficit off the bike. Her 2-hour and 50-minute run split was the 3rd fastest of the day among women and men. Beating Mirinda will not be an easy puzzle to solve. No one knows that better than Great Britain's Rachel Joyce. Last year, she led Carfrae through most of the race, only to be passed midway through the marathon. With an entire year to solve the Carfrae puzzle, has Joyce finally figured it out? Every size and shape from every corner of the globe. They come to test themselves, to push themselves, to find their limit and break through it. Hardship and challenge is difficult to quantify without context. Somewhere down there is race car driver Alex Zanardi. Losing his legs in a 2001 crash was life-altering, but nothing could change his resolve and competitive spirit. Adversity is not always obvious. Invisible scars can run deeper than physical ones. 33-year-old Lisa Hallett races today for her kids, for her family and friends, and for her husband she'll never see again.
I have the opportunity to continue to push the boundaries of what I think possible. And every time I push a boundary and achieve, it transfers over into who I am as a woman, as a mother, and it allows me to continue to believe in myself.
They all have their reasons. Some come to heal, some for the challenge, and some to inspire. But the goal is the same. Preparations have been made, equipment checked and rechecked. Now it's time to get down to the water. The time for talking is over as the athletes confront the effects of an offshore storm and begin to assess the turbulent water.
This is a hard race because of the people you race, the best people in the world, and the conditions. This race is notorious for pulling the rug out from under you at any time.
The swim is never easy, but with the growing swells, it just got harder. Once in the water, the enormity of the task at hand hits home. A 2.4-mile swim, a 112-mile bike course, and a marathon. Some know what to expect. Some know that you never know what to expect.
Definitely a lot of nerves. This race, one of the reasons I can't eat breakfast in the morning is because I feel like I'm going to vomit. I'm so nervous.
The atmosphere out in the bay it's electric, and I think you can feed off that before the race and utilize it just to get that bit of energy before the gun goes off.
The underwater stillness is a refuge from the turmoil swirling above, in the water and in the heads and hearts of the athletes. As the professional men gather at the start line, the speculation and predictions can finally end. Any conjecture or opinion that existed leading up to now is dissolved by reality in the salt water of the Pacific Ocean here in Kailua Bay. Now it's up to them, the athletes. The race is in their hands.
There they go, our male conductional.
The start cannon cracks through the morning air at 6:25 a.m. and immediately the professional women line up for their start 5 minutes later. Over 2,100 athletes will start their journey through the legendary Kona course, and their day starts here. As the sun rises over the island, the endeavor begins. Nearly 100 professional men and women from around the world have already started their race. Now it's time for the age group athletes to file down to the water and take their place at the start line. When you see these faces, you see little joy. That's because they're going into battle with that inner driving force that dominates their lives. How to be better. How to be dedicated to that. And answer the question, what's the hardest thing I can do? And go get it. If you were to ask any one of these athletes, they'll tell you. At the start of an Ironman, you've never felt more alive. It's the anticipation of the unknown. The feeling that everything and anything is possible. For these athletes, there is no prize money. They're here because they have chosen to be, to truly discover what they are made of, what lies deep in their soul. Deeper than most of us ever go. 2014 Ironman World Championship has begun here in Kona, Hawaii. There are now 2,100 athletes in the water of Kailua Bay, all of them fighting the course and the clock. Andy Potts leads the men, which is no surprise. He's done it before. As many predicted, also in the lead group is 33-year-old Jan Frodeno from Germany. This is his first appearance in Kona. It's still early, but he's living up to the hype. For the women, Great Britain's Jodie Swallow has extended a healthy lead for herself, with a small pack of women about 15 seconds behind. An offshore storm has created some of the roughest conditions in years. The large swells are great for surfers, not swimmers. It is what it is. Jan Frodeno has taken the lead with fellow Olympian Andy Potts right next to him. They are out of the water side by side. And there's a big group right behind them. A quick rinse and it's onto the bike. Jan's swim prowess has been tested and proven. Seconds count as Frodeno and Potts are on a foot race to the bike mount line. Last year's world champion Frederik van Leerde is just 30 seconds behind the leaders. As Frodeno and Potts set the pace on the bike, Sebastian Kienle finally emerges from the water, almost 4 minutes behind. But Kienle's strength is the bike. He'll have to move quickly through the transition to avoid losing any more time. The professional women near the end of the 2.4-mile swim. A lead pack of 3 are shoulder to shoulder, 25 meters from the water's exit. They are Americans Amanda Stevens, Meredith Kessler, and Great Britain's Jodie Swallow.
Look at this trio coming in side by side by side. First one up the steps, Amanda Stevens from Oklahoma, USA. Jodie Swallow from Great Britain. Meredith Kessler, San Francisco, California.
Stevens and Swallow navigate the bike racks and will be the first women out on the course, starting on mile 1 of 112. Kessler lost some time in transition, but now she's on her way along with Great Britain's Rachel Joyce, last year's runner-up. 2.5 minutes behind the pack, newcomer Daniela Reef is out of the water and into transition.
Your defending champion, Melinda Carfrae, now out of the water.
The start of that race is key. Typically, I get spat out the back of that front group pretty quickly, but as they've said many times, you can't win the race in the swim, but you can certainly lose it.
The entire women's field respects Australian Melinda Carfrae. Last year at this point, though, she was 3:40 behind the leader. Now she's almost 6 minutes off the front. The opportunity to beat her may be presenting itself. Back at Kailua Bay, the age group athletes, the best there are beginning to finish their day in the water. They've overcome some of the toughest swim conditions known in this race, but that's why they're here, to take on the challenges and test themselves against everything this course can offer. One of the age group athletes just out of the water is a different type of competitor. 48-year-old Alex Zanardi is a former championship race car driver, but that career path and lifestyle all changed in an instant.
September 15, 2001. I was winning and leading, and that was going to be my day. And all I had to do was the last splash of fuel to finish the last 13 laps.
Nice stop.
It was 5.3 seconds on my clock.
I thought I'd put all the dangers behind me after the pit stop because everything went smooth, but I was wrong.
With a terrible crash.
I lost control of the car and cut my car in two pieces. One piece of the car went on one side and the other one, with another bit of Alex, went into a different direction. The simple fact that I survived more than 50 minutes with less than 1 liter of blood. After my heart stopped beating 7 times, I've been reanimated and I'm here. I did not surrender. I went on and I turned that into a great opportunity. If you look at my life today, all the things I'm doing are more or less directly related to my new condition. So for sure, what happened that day changed a lot of things, but indeed offered me a completely new perspective for my future life, which has been a great project to execute where I've been having fun. Winning 2 gold medals and a silver one, and then becoming world champion, and then doing many other things for which I'm very proud. But look at me now. I'm a lucky bastard enjoying beautiful place here in Hawaii and part of this great race. Wow, I'm bloody lucky. No, I'm not gonna climb a mountain because you want to beat the clock. You just want to climb the mountain because it's there, and you know you can do it. It's bloody hard, but you can do it. The Ironman is incredibly hard, but I think I have that type of distance in my arms, and it's just going to be so exciting to have the opportunity to be part of such an amazing event like the Ironman here is. For me, it's something to treasure in your heart forever.
The professional athletes are in the lava fields, and when you hear that word, you think hot, and that's what this day soon will be. It's also a word to describe what many are seeing as a red blur up ahead. Jan Frodeno's in front. Right behind him, the defending champion, Frederik van Leeuwen.
Jan Frodeno will bring some speed to the race. He's not only physically really strong, but mentally he's also strong.
First time is Jan Frodeno, possibly one of the most talented guys we've seen step up to do Ironman.
Jan won the gold medal in the 2008 Beijing Olympics. This past July, he placed 3rd at the Ironman European Championship.
I like big days. I love big days. Having one shot at making history, really, that's what I live for.
Jan isn't the only one expecting a big day. American Andrew Starkowitz has one play: crush the bike and hang on for the run. He passes Frodeno for the lead. Step 1 has been accomplished. Now all he has to do is stay there for 80 more miles. Another strong cyclist, maybe even stronger, who could seriously foil Starkowitz's plan is Sebastian Kienle. Right now, he's making up serious ground, 2.5 minutes back.
Sebastian Kienle, he's probably the most feared athlete in the field because everyone knows how strong he can ride, but also he's got that run to back it up.
He's going to ride hard, he's going to ride fast, and he's going to be a real threat.
If he's going to make the podium, Kienle's got to do it on the bike. And right now, he's doing it. Meanwhile, bad luck for rookie Jan Frodeno. He gets a flat tire. Support is there quickly. Fortunately, it's a front tire, making it a quick change. Jan is back on his bike without losing much time, and he's not only displaying his talent, he's displaying his poise as a rookie. The women's lead pack has entered the lava fields as well, 10 miles behind the men. Jody Swallow has moved into the lead with Americans Meredith Kessler and Mary Beth Ellis close behind. However, somewhere out there, a problem.
125. I gotta give you a red card. At the next penalty set, you need to stop it.
Jody receives a penalty for a passing violation and is given a red card. She stops for a 4-minute penalty. Meredith Kessler becomes the new women's leader, but not for long. The biggest mover in the women's field is Kona rookie Daniela Reef. She was 12th out of the water, but she's kept the pressure on and has steadily climbed through the field. Daniela easily passes Kessler and takes the lead.
Daniela, she's a key player. In my book, I know she's one to beat, and she's done exceptionally well this year.
Now Reef needs to create separation from the rest of the women. She knows there are some fast runners behind her, and she's never been to Kona before. Talent does not rival experience, especially at a place like this.
I want to go out there and go really fast, and that's what drives me more than winning. If I want to win, I need to take risk on the bike, because I'm not gonna run 240.
This is Daniela's thing. If she's going to hurt the rest of the women, she's going to have to do it here. Last year's second-place finisher Rachel Joyce isn't buying into Daniela's plan. She was 9th out of the water, but is now pushing to the lead. At mile 47, she overtakes Mary Beth Ellis for 3rd. Then she runs down Meredith Kessler and takes 2nd. Rachel's advantage is her consistency through all 3 disciplines. Her steady approach has earned her 4 top 10 finishes here in Kona. She wants to do better than that. Further back in the women's field is an athlete that has both talent and experience. Australian Marinda Carfrae is last year's champion, a title she claimed by overcoming an 8-minute deficit off the bike. But now she's almost 9 minutes behind. Eventually, comebacks have a limit. The big island of Hawaii concedes to no one. It makes its own rules. Wind, heat, searing sun. You cannot fight the elements and conditions here. You must work with them. All human plans are subject to ruthless revision by nature or fate, or whatever one prefers to call the powers behind the universe. All these competitors can do is fortify and persist. One athlete that exemplifies that adage is 33-year-old Lisa Hallett, co-founder and president of Wear Blue Run to Remember, an organization that honors the service and sacrifice of the American military and their families through running. Her late husband, Army Captain John L. Hallett, served our country and died for it. The day he deployed, he left a pregnant Lisa behind, along with 2 little boys. And for Lisa now, it's not forgetting that heals. It's remembering John.
I saw John cry once in our entire marriage, and it was the night before he left, and he had to say goodbye to his 2 boys and a baby who's not even born.
Good day, hug and a kiss.
And I think it was just so much for him to take in. John's unit headed out to Afghanistan in the summer of 2009. I knew that in those first few days, I wouldn't hear from John. But then 3 weeks after John left, we did get a hold of John because we were having a baby. I'm feeding her and talking to John on the phone, and I am so excited to finally get to be talking to John. And he says, I haven't heard Heidi cry yet. I was like, oh, don't worry about that. We have a lifetime for that. I mean, those words that came out of my mouth, that lifetime didn't happen for us. That was the last time I talked to John. It's one thing, to have your own grief, but to have to share news that will be a source of grief for your children forever it's too much. And I think that was the most terrible moment. To try to find the words to something you don't want to admit, to explain to your children. And I said, Daddy's body was hurt, and he doesn't get to come home, but he loves us, and he's in heaven. We went from having people bring us newborn baby meals into your husband died meals, but everybody's taking care of the logistics. But the world was so chaotic that I was just hungry for space to grieve and to find solid footing. And so in those first couple days after John was killed, I remember going out for my first run. I just had a baby. It was the ugliest run you've ever seen. And it was in those first few steps that I was finally able to find the quiet and the space that I needed to connect with my grief. In those first few months, every time I went out on the run, I think I was trying to run from this heartbreak and tragedy that life had given me. But I realized that in this journey that I wasn't actually running away from it, but I was running through it. And it was powerful because there were these amazing women in this community around me that recognized the power of running, the healing that it gave and the strength that it infused, and stood with me and ran with me, and we found strength and community together. I think that one of the most frightening parts of losing a loved one is that they will truly become in the past tense, that they will be forgotten. And each week in the circle of remembrance at a Wear Blue Run, or every time somebody puts on their blue shirt and makes their steps purposeful, they are making the statement both, I remember, and they're also evoking the memories of those men and women who lived and letting those stories continue to breathe life into our own steps. And so that they're not past tense, they are not a chapter closed. They are a part of the power that makes today's steps more purposeful.
The infamous Hawaiian trade winds rush in from the northeast shore, blow over the island, and crash headlong into the prevailing westerly Kona winds, creating a jet wash of air currents that are as difficult to forecast as they are to race a bike through. Sebastian Kienle has been slicing the wind with his bike since he left the transition. He was nearly 4 minutes down coming out of the water. Now 50 miles in, he takes the lead. Kienle pedaled his way past most of the men's professional field, proving his cycling prowess has not diminished in the slightest. Starkowitz's plan to dominate the bike crumbles as last year's champion Frederik van Lierde moves past him. As the lead pack closes in on the turnaround at Hawi, the prevailing winds are blowing directly at the athletes, making the halfway point of the bike course an even greater struggle. Kienle hits the brakes and navigates the turnaround with fellow German Mike Twelsek right behind in second. Next at the turn, a pair of Belgians, Frederik van Lierde, followed by Marino van Hohenacker. The turnaround a welcome landmark, not only signifying the halfway point for the bike course, but the headwinds are now tailwinds. And Sebastian Kienle is making the most out of that.
The bike has a really big impact on the running times, especially here in Kona. That's the puzzle you just have to put together, you know. I can't win the race on the bike, but I could try to make the marathon times slower for everybody, and then I have a good chance.
Mike Twelsek is holding on to second place, but Kienle's gap is growing. Further back, Frederik van Lierde feels the approach of Marino van Hohenacker closing in on his third place spot. Van Hohenacker has 3 top 10 finishes here in Kona, but at 38 years old knows he's running out of time to claim the one title that's missing from his impressive resume. His now or never attitude seems to be working. He came out of transition at the back of the pack and has hammered his way to the front. Marino makes his move and takes third. So far, the bike course has not been kind to Jan Frodeno. An earlier penalty for an improper pass, followed by a flat tire and a relentless headwind, have pushed the rookie to 19th place. The women are closing in on the turnaround at Hawi, and the conditions haven't changed. The winds are brutal. Newbie Daniela Reef is still in the lead, doing her best to cycle through that wall of air that won't stop blowing. Great Britain's Rachel Joyce is a minute and a half behind her. If Rachel's going to win this race, she has to keep Daniela in her sights. In third for the women, right behind Rachel, is Mary Beth Ellis. She's doing her best to deal with what they're dealing with. Daniela reaches the turnaround at Hawi, followed by Joyce and Ellis. Now that they are moving with the air, the stress is slightly reduced. Daniela takes full advantage and picks up the pace. Last year's champion Marinda Carfrae is now almost 12 minutes back. She is very vulnerable.
I think Rini can be beat. All it's going to take is for that gap to be big enough and one of the girls to have a really good marathon.
Everybody's beatable out on this course, that's for sure.
In Carfrae's win last year, she came off the bike with just under 8 minutes to make up on the run. This year's gap might be too big. As the sun climbs, the Kona conditions unleash their fury. Athletes know the course is going to be hot. The sun will be blazing. The decisive variable on this course every year is the wind. A strong headwind all the way out to Hawi often becomes a strong crosswind on the way back. You're constantly fighting it. It's both physically and mentally exhausting. For the athletes, there is no refuge or hiding. There is only endurance and the comfort that with each pedal stroke, they are that much closer to the finish. This is Apollo Ono. He's won 8 Olympic medals in his speed skating career, but he's never experienced anything like this. Embracing the unknown has been a challenging task. With the help of 8-time world champion Paul Frazier and his Got Chocolate Milk training team, Ono has found new fulfillment by simply letting go.
When I would go to Olympic Games, I had to control every aspect of my performance, every aspect of my training. I became almost fanatical about it. I know every single track pattern. I know every single athlete. I know everything about everybody.
To the line, and it is gold for Ono!
I'm so used to just containing everything in my bubble and dealing with my own issues, dealing with my own pains, and that's not good when it comes to Ironman training.
When people see Apollo, they think of Apollo as the Olympic athlete, and I think he needed a couple of years to step away from that. And now he's come back into training for this Ironman and embracing this challenge. You're going to be keeping your heart rate well below 150. You're going to have to learn to ride at that low heart rate.
And I think that's why Paula and I have such a great relationship, because I've actually placed so much trust in her hands, and I believe in her so much because I have no idea what I'm doing.
So I just follow you wherever you go?
Yeah, just stay on my feet and you'll see the difference. The most emotional I see him is when he talks about sport, about being an athlete, about being challenged. He's afraid of this challenge, but he also is so embracing it, and I think it keeps him connected with who he is. There's a whole new boundary that's been shattered in his life.
For so many years, I've had this shield on, and I've never wanted to show any cracks or showing any weakness. And here, you can't hide. Everybody can see. And you feel very free. That's how this process has been for me, and the transformation. It's been amazing.
The lava fields of Kona, Hawaii are otherworldly. The landscape is as severe as the endeavor that these athletes have chosen to undertake. Sebastian Kienle is still in the lead for the men and moving at a dizzying pace. Fellow German Mike Twelsick is holding in second position, and roughly 2 minutes behind him is Marino van Hohenacker, who holds the record for the fastest Ironman ever, winning Ironman Austria in 7 hours, 45 minutes. But that was 3 years ago. Defending champion Frederik van Lierde is still in range, although his day has gotten a little rougher. American Ben Hoffman was not considered a serious threat coming into the race, but now he's closing in. Hoffman started the bike leg in 13th and has steadily sliced through the field, all the way up to 3rd. If he can hang on through the bike, he may have a good chance later on. Switzerland's Daniela Ryf took the lead of this race at mile 40. Now at mile 80, she's unchallenged. Ryf has opened up a 2:35 lead on the rest of the women's field. Not bad for a first try in Kona. Behind her are Great Britain's Rachel Joyce and American Mary Beth Ellis. Unless they make a move, their only option at this point is to catch Daniela on the run. Play it safe and conserve energy, or attack now. Either way, it's going to be a long day. Last year's champion Mirinda Carfrae is now down over 14 minutes. The task of catching Daniela Ryf and defending her title is getting harder and harder. At some point, there's just not enough pavement left to make that comeback. Men's leader Sebastian Kienle is closing in on transition 2. He has created a gap of over 3 minutes on the rest of the field.
You've swum 2.4 and ridden 112. You're actually really looking forward to the run until you hit the carpet and have to get off your bike and then realise that you've got 26 miles. So it's a love-hate kind of thing. You're loving the fact you're getting off the bike and you're sort of hating how you're going to feel for a little while.
Sebastian isn't hating anything about the start of his marathon. Only question is, can he hold on to the lead? Next into transition 2 is Mike Twelsick. 90 seconds behind him is Belgian Marino van Hohenacker, followed by countryman Frederik van Leeuwen and American Ben Hoffman right on his heels. None of these men were able to catch Kienle on the bike, but this day is far from over. More races have been lost on the run course than anywhere else. This is where champions are made. Kona rookie Jan Frodeno has kept himself in contention despite the flat tire and penalty. Coming off the bike, he's in 11th, 13 minutes behind the leader. His only option? Run like hell. Sebastian Kienle has never had this kind of lead off the bike. Will the pressure of staying out in front be harder than getting there? Back at transition 2, Daniela Ryf is just about to come off her bike. She has maintained a solid separation from the women's field and looks strong going into the marathon. But this is where inexperience can expose weakness. Rachel Joyce is 2 minutes behind Ryf. She was able to gain 30 seconds at the end of the bike and has the talent to make up more on the run. For Daniela Ryf, it's gut check time. 26.2 miles to go. Men's leader Sebastian Kienle is maintaining his lead, but he can't let up. He knows there are faster runners behind him. After the turnaround on Ali'i Drive, Kienle can see them all coming after him, which is where the real drama starts to unfold. Marino van Hohenacker, Ben Hoffman, and Mike Twelsick jockey for second. With Hoffman ultimately pulling away. Meanwhile, last year's world champion Frederik van Leeuwen is running in 5th, but picking up the pace. As Ben Hoffman extends his gap from Twelsick and van Hohenacker, van Leeuwen closes in on them, overtaking both. But he doesn't stop there. He reels in Ben Hoffman too and sets himself solidly in second place. Back at T2, Mirinda Carfrae quickly hands off her bike. Her reputation is screaming.
If she puts together anything similar to what she did last year, you can't rest a second. You're going to have to squeeze every second you can because you know she's coming through on the run. It's just a question of how fast you can run and how much ground she's going to make up.
She's coming, and when she's coming fast, strong, with a lot of tenacity. Unless you have a 20-minute lead coming off the bike, and even that's kind of questionable, you don't have it in the bank until that finish line.
Carfrae is 14 minutes and 32 seconds behind first place, but she's setting a pace that could put her in contention if she can keep it up. An event like the Ironman World Championship is a celebration of the human spirit. When anyone or anything threatens that spirit and passion, the athletic community will respond. In the case of the fateful events that took place at the finish line of the Boston Marathon on April 15, 2013, the entire world responded. On that day, marathon race director David McGilvery was confronted with the unthinkable.
I was actually back out at the start in Hopkinton, and I got a phone call saying what had happened at the finish. We rushed right back. I went into the medical tent, and I realized for the first time how serious this was. I got stopped by a police officer, and he said, "Hey, where you going?" And I said, "I'm going up to the finish line." And he said, "No, you're not." And I said, "Well, I'm the race director. Here's my ID." And he said, "It's not your race anymore." Just so emotional to witness all of that. I came home and I saw my family and my 7-year-old son, and he gives me a hug and he said, "Hey, Dad, I don't want you ever to direct that race again." And I realized for the first time there were a lot of victims, not just those who were physically wounded, but so many other people were victimized by this, even my own family. And then about 2 months later, he come up to me and said, "Hey, Dad, remember I said I never want you to direct that race again?" And I said, "Yeah, Luke, I remember." He says, "You know why?" I said, "Why?" I says, "Because I want to direct it." When we invited people back to run in this race again this year, over 5,000 of them signed up right away. They said, "This is our race, we're coming back and we're going to complete what we started." I really believe that through it all, we became stronger than we've ever been.
The professional field of the 2014 Ironman World Championship is pounding through the marathon. Men's leader Sebastian Kienle is still in command of this race. 8 minutes behind him is defending champion Frederik van der Leerde. And closing in on him is American Ben Hoffman. Nature has been harsh this year. Choppy surf, wind, and heat all affect the athletes exponentially. The slightest rise in temperature has a profound impact on an athlete's body under stress, and the temperature's rising. Women's leader Daniela Ryf is doing her best to cope. She's never raced in conditions like this before, and it's getting to her. 2 minutes behind Ryf's lead is Rachel Joyce. But the big mover in the marathon is Mirinda Carfrae. The cooler air off the Pacific on Ali'i Drive never felt better. And she's moving up fast. Back out in the lava fields en route to the energy lab, Sebastian Kienle runs alone. So far, his plan is working. Extend a big enough lead on the bike and hope the rest of the field can't catch you. But anything can and has happened on this section of the course. The Energy Lab is famous for, ironically, sucking the energy right out of you. Next to close in on the turnaround is Frederik van der Leerde. As first and second place pass each other, Kienle still has 10 miles to go. After over 130 miles of racing, this will be the longest 10 miles of his life. The Energy Lab is a gut check. This is where any weakness is exposed. If nutrition wasn't attended to in the early stages of the race, the price is paid here. Ben Hoffman is putting the pressure on van der Leerde. As the two pass each other, Hoffman gets a front row assessment of what has to happen here to catch second place. Hoffman has no idea what's coming up behind him. Jan Frodeno was 11th out of T2, Now he's 5th. American Ben Hoffman resets his pace and goes to work on Van Leeuwen, whose lead over the American at this point is looking tenuous. Hoffman and Van Leeuwen have been going back and forth throughout the marathon. But this pass, this looks permanent. As Frodeno continues to close, Van Leeuwen continues to crumble. The pass is inevitable. Jan Frodeno reels in Van Leeuwen and has now moved up 8 spots in the marathon to 3rd. Van Leeuwen's day is not ending well as he deals with cramps and fatigue. Last year's champion can only walk as others run by. The women are closing in on the Energy Lab, and the same gut check standards apply. Daniela Reif is holding down first, but her stride isn't as smooth as it was. In second place, Rachel Joyce has much more experience than Reif here in Kona, but her pace isn't reflecting that. Her fatigue is obvious too. She's slowing down. Further back and showing no such signs is defending champion Mirinda Carfrae. 15 miles into the run, she has made up more than 6 minutes on the leader, and now closes in on 5th place, Mary Beth Ellis.
Rinny always runs well. There's nobody else that I know of currently racing who has a record where they finished 1st, 2nd, or 3rd every time they've been on the starting line.
I am good at rising to the occasion that is Kona World Championships. It's exciting to go out there and just lay it all out there and then just see who's the strongest.
In the Ironman, this is as impressive as it gets. Carfrae passes Stefan. And then Swallow. Her sights are now clearly set on the final 2 women in front of her. Whether she can catch them, only time and distance will tell. As 1st and 3rd pass each other near the turnaround, a weary Daniela Reif now confronts the last thing she wanted to see. Mirinda Carfrae closing in. The athletes of the Ironman have been out on course for almost 8 hours now. Daniela Reif is still in the lead. She moved to the front 40 miles into the bike. With 11 miles to go on the run, can she continue to hold on? The presence behind her is enormous. It's the defending champion Mirinda Carfrae, and she can run faster than anyone. She passes Great Britain's Rachel Joyce. Now she's in 2nd place. Up ahead, Reif's pace begins to falter. Men's leader Sebastian Kienle is on a lead drive and approaching the finish line. He can finally allow himself to enjoy the reality that he is about to be crowned world champion. Today was his day. Sebastian Kienle was able to put the pieces of his Kona puzzle together perfectly.
From Germany, Sebastian Kienle! Sebastian Kienle, you are an Ironman world champion!
5 minutes behind Sebastian is Ben Hoffman. No one predicted this kind of finish for Ben. He beat the odds and is 2nd at the Ironman World Championship. And just over a minute behind Ben, rookie Jan Frodeno makes his way to the finish line. First time in Kona, and he makes the podium. Last year's champion, Frederik Van Leeuwen, gathers himself to proudly make it to the finish line in 8th. He is visibly exhausted. Back out on the Queen Kaahumanu Highway, the women's race is far from decided. Switzerland's Daniela Ryf is doing her best to keep her pace and composure, but there are sometimes variables you can't account for. And that variable this time is Australian Mirinda Carfrae, who ironically passes her own husband, Tim O'Donnell, there, and Daniela Ryf here.
Get to the front and it's kind of a relief. Okay, I've made it to the front now. But you kind of want to get past that leader, put them away, absolutely. Remind them that they're not going to catch you.
14 minutes, 35 seconds. The largest deficit in Ironman history, erased. The fastest and strongest is once again defending world champion Mirinda Carfrae. Mirinda is only the fourth woman to win at least 3 world championship titles in Kona, and she breaks the run course record she set here last year. "27-year-old Daniela Ryf had an epic day. Having never competed here in Kona before, she's the 2014 Ironman World Championship runner-up. A minute behind Daniela, Great Britain's Rachel Joyce closes in on a finish for 3rd. A world championship finish for the ages. The pro results are now in the books, but the race is far from over. The age group athletes are still out on the course, digging deep and finding the strength to finish. The beauty, splendor, and wild nature of the big island of Hawaii is the perfect setting for this race. The raw adversity that these athletes experience personify the surroundings they race in. The Ironman World Championship now belongs to the age group competitors. For them, job titles do not include professional triathlete. But the Ironman course pays no attention to what you do outside of Kona. Whether it's racing cars or winning Olympic medals, this is where the race changes its focus from pure talent to embracing heart, courage, persistence, guts. Boston Marathon race director David McGilvery persists through the bike and now is in transition too. He gets started on what is a very familiar task, running a marathon. Although the scenery here is much different than Boston, the image is a strong message. No matter what, the ideals that these people have deep to their core cannot be stopped. Lisa Hallett races for the memory of her fallen husband. And in Ironman, she is able to find a silver lining she never could have known was there.
In the very difficult moments of Ironman, I really find the space to confront my emotions and kind of my goals and my hopes for the future.
Is your mom swimming with the turtles right now?
She has a very special cheering section ready to welcome her into T2. Today, Mom's doing an Ironman.
I hope that when they see me out on the Ironman course, they recognize that in their own lives, they have the potential, the opportunity, and the purpose to do great things.
For Lisa, the journey out of grief has yielded unexpected lessons, and everyone else around her cannot help but be inspired. That same spirit is all over the Queen K Highway. The mayor of Hawaii County, Billy Kenoi, is hopeful that he can set an example for the people he serves.
When I'm hot, tired, feeling it, going up hills, I can just look around and go, wow, if I keep going, if I keep putting one foot in front of the other, I'm gonna reach that finish line on Ali'i Drive. And I'm gonna walk in the footsteps of thousands of incredible athletes before who heard those words. and realized that they too are an Ironman.
Mayor Billy found a way. It's a little wobbly, but he made the bike cutoff with just 6 minutes to spare. Once he shakes off those bike legs, he's ready for the marathon. And just a little closer to his dream. For others still on the course, the dream could expire. Competitors have 10.5 hours to reach the transition. If they don't make it, their day is done. That is the last woman to make the cutoff. The oldest woman to ever finish this race is 79-year-old Harriet Anderson. Today she hoped to add another. The island had other plans. The oldest man to finish, 84-year-old Lou Hollander. And he's honest with himself.
There was a lot of wind out there, you know. This was a day of days, wasn't it? This is the best I could do.
As the sun sets, there's only one place all of these people want to be, and it's at the finish for everything that happens there.
I've been able to do a lot of things which have been making my life great, but I feel gifted for having had more than one of these days throughout my life where you really know what the word happiness means.
I think it will be a life changer. I think it'll be positive, and I think I'll come out of this thing a significantly stronger person for the rest of my life.
These are the things that happen at the Ironman you will never forget. As the sun sets, the Ironman begins to reveal its humanity, and the Big Island bestows one of its greatest gifts, arrival at the finish line. We begin with the mayor of this place.
There's no question that Kona and the Ironman World Championship, it's one and the same. The history of Kona, the history of the Ironman are intertwined, and we're very proud of that.
2013, Boston. Despair. Today, the opposite.
Having been involved in this industry for the better part of 35 years, when initially I was asked what I did for a living, I used to mumble that I was a race director. What do they do? Chalk mark in the road, yell go. But now when people ask me what I do for a living, I say I help raise the level of self-esteem and self-confidence of tens of thousands of people in America. And really that's what I think this is all about, because that's the very foundation and basis by which you accomplish anything else in your life.
It's not just a race, it's not just the place. You know, it's the people, it's the volunteers, it's the spectators, it's the joy, the aloha, the celebration, the commitment.
What does it mean? To everyone, it's different. But the visible elation and sometimes tears unite them all.
When I cross the finish line, it's not going to be my own accomplishment. It's everyone around me that supported me to get to the finish line.
The rules apply to everyone, including the mayor. He has 17 hours to finish, and he's in his last one.
This year I'm participating So when I hear an athlete talk about the joy, the satisfaction, the reward of being in Kona, you know, I'm sitting here pinching myself.
Mayor Billy's on his way. He's getting close.
This is what gives her hope.
There will still be these moments where I'll catch my breath and I will remember, oh, John, we used to do that, or you would love this. You don't stop missing your best friend. I can't change that, so I can accept, remember, and move forward. I know that when I finish, that joy and that pride will be so fierce when I scoop up Jackson, Bryce, and Heidi, and they give me big hugs that are just full of love.
Lisa Hallett, DuPont, Washington, 33 years old. You are an Ironman. Lisa Hallett and her family, in honor of her husband, who she lost in Afghanistan in 2009. And Lisa deserves it one more time. Lisa Hallett, you are an Ironman. Billy's got to get in 9 minutes, as do the rest of the age group men. Come on, Billy. I know you can hear us. Don't give up. We're all here for you.
All of the crazy things that happen every day in your life, and loving your kids, loving your family, making sure everybody's healthy and safe. I think about those 4 words. You are an Ironman, and crossing that finish line on a lead drive every day.
And the mayor himself, the Honorable Mayor Billy Canoy. You are an Ironman!
And he can say that for the rest of his life. Congratulations to Joe Gambles and Mary Beth Ellis for winning the Big Ring Bike Bonus, and Sebastian Keenley and Daniela Reef for winning the Big Ring Run Bonus. Special thanks to the Courtyard by Marriott King Kamehameha Kona Beach Hotel. The Ironman Lottery gives 100 athletes the chance to race Kona.